It being 6:31 on December 13th, 2023, we call the meeting of the Brockton Conservation Commission to order. This meeting is being conducted remotely in accordance with Governor Healy's open meeting changes that were updated in March of 2023, which extended certain COVID-19 provisions until March 31st, 2025. Real-time public participation and comment can be addressed to the Conservation Commission utilizing the Zoom virtual meeting software. If you wish to comment during a public input portion of the hearing, please use the raise your hand function to be addressed at the appropriate time. For those of you joining by phone only, press *9 to raise your hand. All comments made are a matter of public record and should be conducted in a way that is respectful of others. Should personal or inflammatory remarks be made during the meeting, the host reserves the right to mute the speaker. A copy of this recording will be on the city's webpage. All votes that are taken during this meeting will be done by roll call vote to ensure count accuracy. If the members of the commission could please state their names so that we can take attendance for the purpose of quorum.
Claire here.
Clay here.
Peggy, I think you're muted.
Peggy Curtis here.
And
Green
Lily's
here.
Okay.
Map here.
And Vora's here. So all are present. All members are present. Thank you. Okay, for the purposes of people that may be here to participate as public speakers, I just would like to announce the following continuances. These agenda items are being continued and rescheduled to January 17th. The first one is number 4, 549 Copeland, number 5, 10 Peckham Avenue, number 6, 166 East Ashland, number 8, 511 Thatcher, number 9, 0 Toby Road, and number 12, which was, 137 Perkins Avenue. So anyone that might be here to speak to those items, we will be seeing you on January 17th instead. Okay. First item on the agenda are the meeting minutes. I checked at around, I don't know, 4:50 p.m. and I didn't see the minutes in the file. So I'm not sure if people got a chance to read through the minutes or not.
I got a copy.
We sent out a copy via email to all the commission members, but we just didn't have it uploaded to the public drive. So it's uploaded to the public drive now. It's the same document that we sent out to the commission members. I guess Joyce, you've done a revision, so it's that's the copy that's here. So I'm not sure if the rest of the commission's seen the copy that you made revisions to.
I did not.
I sent the version that I sent out was Joyce's revisions.
Okay.
And my mistake on not getting them into the drive. It was probably a little after you looked, Joyce. They are in there now though.
Oh, okay. Did you send them out like within the past day or two, or the revisions? Okay, as long as the commissioners have all seen the revised minutes, that's all I care about. That's fine. If it says if it starts with chairwoman, it's the older version. If it starts with chair for us, then it's the current version.
It starts with chair is the one that's updated.
Okay, that's fine. Well then, I will entertain a motion then to accept the minutes as read. As long as you all feel comfortable with any questions on those minutes or anything.
I make a motion to accept the minutes of November 15th, 2023.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Beekler, aye.
Clay, aye.
Curtis, aye.
Green, aye.
Map, aye.
And Vora's aye. So the minutes are accepted. Thank you. And thanks very much, Isaiah, for putting up with me. Okay, first item on the agenda then is a notice of intent for 10 Churchill Avenue extension. I believe this is a home with a shed being added onto a home.
Yeah, it's an accessory structure, separate from the home.
Mhm.
So I promoted Jeff Martin, who's the property owner, and William Self to speak to this. I guess we can just, Bill, if you want to maybe review the project and like what's being proposed, where it is. I can throw up some maps if you want, or you're able to share it on your screen as well if you want.
We can't hear you,
I
Mr.
think you're
Self.
muted, Bill.
Yeah. I can't hear you. Mr. Self?
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Mr. Self, are you representing
We do this every
Curly?
day. Keep forgetting though. My name is Bill Self. I'm with Curly and Hanson Surveyors and Avon. We prepared the plan
Yep.
for our client who is Jeff Martin. He's with us this evening.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to present?
I will. Yeah, if Kyle can put the plan up. What we have is a single family home. The applicant is proposing a garage to the rear of the property. We've been to the Board of Appeals on just for the reason of it was a third structure on the lot. He had another shed plus a pool, and this would be 3. So, and he was granted with the Board of Appeals for the shed is shown in the location that it's shown. We've put it. He has a you can see the odd configuration of his lot. We've sited it in an area where it's going to be mostly for storage. It's a utility shed for storage. He's got a pool. He's trying to put it in an area where it won't be in the functionality of the pool area. He's got grandkids. He uses his backyard quite a bit. And that the designated spot is the reason for that. It was an area that was fairly well cleared out. There's no trees to be taken down. It's just basically, set a footing below the deck, below the shed, and just drop it on there. You can see that we've got. I'm sorry.
Sounds like background noise.
Did somebody have a question?
No.
Tim, I just found this here.
Oh,
It said unmute.
as you can see,
That's not gonna fix your speaker. That's your microphone.
can you hear me, Jeff?
No.
Mr. Martin, you're having difficulty? Mr. Martin?
I don't even know how to get to
Mr. Self, if you can just continue, that's fine.
Okay. As you can see with the, it's a 16 by 24 shed. You can see that we're 4 or 5 feet off of the wetland, buffer line. We'll have our erosion control put in that location as shown. And again, it's a use that it's pretty much, out of the way of everything. He really is building it for the storage, summer furniture, things of that nature. The smaller one he has out to the front of the yard is full. He's a carpenter by trade, so he's got no room for storage. So that's the purpose for the shed.
Will there be motorized vehicles that are going to be parked in there?
No, not that I'm aware of. I'm not sure Jeff if he can hear us. He should be able to hear us. I know he's on mute. Not motorized vehicle. I'm not positive what he's intending. Probably a lawnmower. Is that what you're indicating? Small engine equipment. It'll be for yard equipment, things like that. Lawnmowers. That's what he'll probably end up storing in there.
So it is right against the 25-foot buffer line, right?
It's 3 or 4. It looks like it's about 3 feet away.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And again, it's an area that's clear now. It's just leaves basically. It's an area over the years. I think they used to use it for wood cutting or he burns wood, so I think that was an area that he had, that they used to burn the wood, thinning out, towards the back.
Mhm.
You're live.
Okay, Mr. Martin, is there anything that you'd like to add?
I just got connected. I had problems with my computer. I couldn't hear anything.
Oh, okay.
So I just got my son's laptop and just literally came up live now.
Okay.
So
He was on before, but the speaker wasn't working, so I had to switch laptops for him.
That's fine.
So
Thank you.
he can hear you now.
It's wonderful to have sons around, isn't it? I know. Mr. Martin, are you going to be storing any motorized vehicles or anything like that in your shed?
The only thing that might be is I have a riding lawnmower, but right now it's at my daughter's house because I have no room for it. But I mean, that would be the only type of motorized vehicle, and possibly the other shed has the snow blower in it, but I have no more room with all the other yard tools that are in there. So that's the only thing that's possibly, but I could put the yard tools back there and then the riding lawnmower in the front shed. So but that would be the only type of motorized vehicle I'd have.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Holden, I did neglect to ask, I believe there is a DEP file number and abutters have been notified about this particular application?
Yes, so I have gotten confirmation of a butter notification, and then on the 11th, we were issued a file number. So, and there's been some developments as far as DEP comments since then that I can summarize when we're ready. I can do that now, or if you want to continue looking at the map, we can pick that up later.
Mr. South, Mr. Martin, is it okay if Mr. Holden goes on and discusses the DEP information?
Yes, absolutely. If the
Okay.
board has any other questions, we can certainly pick up after that.
Certainly, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, great. So in summary, we've kind of gone back and forth, Bill, myself, the botanist who did the delineation for this notice of intent, and Andrew Point, the circuit rider for the Southeast Regional Office of Massachusetts DEP. So in summary, Mass DEP had some concerns about the wetland over on the north side of the house. That's this one. So there are two wetlands that are mapped on this notice of intent plan. The one wetland up by where the shed will actually be installed was delineated, and they called it a bordering vegetated wetland, which is jurisdictional for the Conservation Commission. But when they delineated the other wetland on the north side of the property, ECR, Brad Holmes, called this an isolated vegetated wetland, which would not be jurisdictional for the Conservation Commission. So again, in summary, Mass DEP called into question whether this was truly isolated or not. Because if it's not isolated, that would be a bordering vegetated wetland, so that would be jurisdictional. So we kind of went back and forth, the three of us, and what we've decided to kind of present to you today is this is a new map that wasn't a part of the original notice of intent plan. This is the map that we will reference in the order of conditions if the commission votes to issue an order of conditions. Basically, the kind of middle ground that we decided upon was we've included a note box in this plan that basically states that the jurisdictional status of this wetland, which we're referring to as Wetland Series A, was not conclusively determined. And if any work were to be done within the buffer zone of this other wetland in the future, that we would have to do a full delineation and actually determine if this is truly isolated or if it's part of a larger system, which would make it jurisdictional. I spoke to Andrew Point, again, the circuit rider, earlier this morning. He's comfortable with this as long as we have this language on the notice of intent maps, and I include that in a special condition on the order conditions if the commission decides to vote that way. So in summary, the concern was about the status of this isolated wetland. We've resolved that, I think, to everyone's satisfaction. And so I think that comment has kind of been resolved at this point.
And just for the new commissioners as well as the public, can you explain? I mean, at one time, isolated wetlands were jurisdictional, correct?
Yeah, that's true. So I think before this year, isolated vegetated wetlands were protected on the federal level. So the state of Massachusetts did not have protections for isolated wetlands in the state statute because it was already federally protected. Earlier this year, some parts of the Clean Water Act were kind of nixed by the courts, and this was the big fallout for us. So isolated vegetated wetlands are no longer federally protected. So this is there's kind of a hole in Massachusetts wetland protection currently. So an isolated wetland before this year would have been protected, but now it isn't. So that's why there's some contention about how we're defining this particular wetland today. So that's kind of very briefly the reason.
Okay. Thank you. And would you like to summarize your agent report?
Yeah, sure. So basically, Bill kind of went over most of the things here. As Bill mentioned, the area that the shed is being proposed to be built in is already very clear. I've got some photos I can share with you of the site as well. Let me do that. The grade, the existing grade where the shed is proposed is also fairly level already, and it is, you know, higher than the surrounding area that would be like kind of within the 25-foot buffer zone. So there's not going to be a lot of like fill necessary to level the area to build the shed. So I kind of covered that in the report. I also mentioned that there's no vegetative clearings necessary for this project. It's kind of already clear. And then my recommendation was that the commission issue your conditions for this notice of intent with a few special conditions, and we can review that in a moment. Let me pull these photos up.
That would be great. Thank you. I'd like to see the photos.
All right, so at this point, I'm standing like well within the 25-foot buffer zone to the wetland. There are 4 kind of stakes that they've kind of marked out the perimeter of the footprint of where the shed would be. The 4th stick is kind of hard to see, but it's right here. So you can see it's clear. They're not going to be removing any trees or any woody vegetation of any sort that's there. The other photo is just the same kind of shot, but from a different angle. So I'm going to move over to that one.
And you said it would be on a concrete slab?
Yeah, they will be pouring a concrete slab. And this is also, I think, covered in the agent report. They're not planning on taking any heavy machinery through the yard to get back to the site. They will leave the concrete truck parked up on either the drive or on the road, and they're going to pipe it back with hoses and pumps. And yeah, so here's just the other angle looking back towards the wetland area. So here are the sticks that are kind of marking the perimeter of where the shed will be located. And the special conditions that I outlined in my agent report was that that material staging and stockpiling should remain outside of the 50-foot buffer zone. And then the other thing that I put in here was that I was concerned about erosion of water, from rain sheet flowing off the shingles, because it's going to be built kind of like an A-frame. So I recommended gutters, downspouts, or splash blocks of some sort. But I think the applicant is kind of leaning towards maybe putting some gravel around the perimeter of the base to kind of catch that flow off of the roof. Either one is fine with me. I just wanted to make sure that there was some sort of something in place to kind of catch any water just sheet flowing off the roof, and so we didn't cause erosion going into the wetland area.
What's the gradient from where that proposed shed will be to like the wetland area itself? What's the topographical difference like, this slope?
Yeah, so we don't have the topographical data on the plan, but as I recall from being on the site, the footprint that is here outlined when I took the initial photo, so this other one here, that's probably at least a foot below the grade of where the floor would be poured here. It drops off pretty significantly, so I'm well below the grade there. I don't know what the actual slope is though.
Mr. Self?
Yeah, if I could comment, if Kyle, if you still have the plan available there. There is topography on the plan. If you look very,
Oh, sure.
sometimes it's a little busy, sometimes you don't see it, but it's a very gentle slope. It's about a foot. If you look at from just behind, when the plan comes up on the screen, you'll see that just behind the pool itself is elevation 82, and where the shed's going, you can see it's right in the middle of 81. So you can see it's a really very flat slope.
And then it goes down to 79. So yeah, so it's
Yeah,
only
another 20 feet, 15, 20 feet away. Yep. And if I could comment on just quickly on the what we found with a shed like this, the gutter, sometimes the gutters they create more of a discharge point. What we found with a couple of feet of stone all the way around the base, then a foot and a half deep or so. Well, that absorbs, puts the water right back into the water table, and really cuts down on the runoff, and erosion. So that's one of the reasons. It's usually we like to see if it's acceptable. So that's why we mentioned that.
Mhm. Now, is that actually in the plans that you've, I didn't have a chance to actually go that deeply into the notice of intent.
Yeah, it's not on the plan that you see up on the screen. That was brought to our attention, by the review that Kyle had done.
Right.
And I think Mr. Martin had a chance to, discuss it with Kyle and about the stone. And it was an idea that Jeff and I had talked about. So that was the reason for it being mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And we can just incorporate that if the commission's fine with that stone around the perimeter of the structure, we can just incorporate that into the order of conditions with the special condition.
Commissioners? Any questions or comments or?
I have I guess a question.
Hi, Lily.
Hello. So the shed itself is 24 by 16. Does that include, so you kind of mentioned the roof would be kind of like an A-frame, so would the roof kind of overhang a bit from the shed, so the roof itself would then cause because the gravel obviously has to be larger than the 16 by 24. So I guess my question would be, since we don't completely know how far out the gravel has to go, I'm just kind of concerned how close to that 25-foot buffer zone we would have to have for it to cover enough space to prevent a lot of that sheet flow.
Yeah, I think Jeff, Mr. Martin, he'll be building it himself. I think normally it's about a foot overhang. So if we had a foot and a half to 2 feet of stone, we're still we'll tighten up the erosion control right behind it. It'll be something that's be last in there, and that pretty much stabilizes everything. But it's Jeff can comment better. What's your overhang, Jeff, on the sides?
Normally it's about 12 inches.
Yeah.
Anyways, from 8 inches to 12 is kind of the standard, and that's what I was planning on.
So that's the silt sock that's there with the little rectangles, correct? Is that
yeah, we can adjust that a little bit, but it'll still be outside of the buffer.
Lily,
And the stone's something that can go out, that can pretty much go in after the grass. Once it's all established, it can, that's one of the later things that go in.
So you don't think that drainage piece should be there earlier in the design before grass and things are established?
Well, yeah, it'll be there. I mean, the erosion control will be the erosion control. We can work up again, right up. We can slide it away a little bit just for the installation,
right?
But it'll still stay there, while But the stone will be the last thing they'll put in, probably filling while they're doing the landscaping around the shed. Is what I was meaning.
Okay. Any other questions, Lily?
I did have, I guess, one other question about I know we're not talking about, but because of the way it's worded for the IBW because we don't see an idea of where that 100-foot buffer zone exactly reaches.
The 100?
Yeah, so I can kind of show you,
Can you hear me?
Lily, on if you can see my cursor here. Like I don't have it on, those lines aren't mapped on this map, but I've seen previous notice of intent for this property, where they mapped out the buffer zone for wetland series A, and the 100-foot line kind of cuts right through this area. So we would be within 100 feet of wetland series A. But that said, sheds are considered an exempt activity as long as you're outside of a 50-foot buffer zone to a wetland. So this shed doesn't really have an impact as far as the Wetlands Protection Act is concerned with the wetland series A.
I'm sorry. So wetland series A is the isolated wetland, or the?
Yeah, that's the wetland over here. As you look at the screen to the left side.
Okay, the 100-foot buffer. The 100-foot buffer zone that goes across the center of the property, that's for Series B, no? Yeah?
That
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Peggy, you have your hand up. Hello, Commissioner Curtis.
Hello. I have a question. I know in my shed we store pesticides sometimes. Is that a no-no in this kind of a shed that's so close to the wetlands? I guess Kyle would be the one to answer that question.
So we would normally, have in our order of conditions, we have a kind of a special conditions that one of the common special conditions that we just always are kind of including at this point is like no herbicides will be used around this development here. We could certainly, if you wanted to, we could put a special condition that we just wouldn't store any herbicides or pesticides in that shed, if that's something you're interested in.
And as a regular condition, would the herbicide pesticide condition be there?
Well, as far as the usage of the herbicides and pesticides around the structure, yeah, we're going to leave that one in regardless. But if you want to have another condition that says don't store any of those like chemicals in that shed, we can add that.
And also too, he has a pool. Where does he store the chlorine and the cleaning solutions for the pool?
So the pool is a saltwater pool, so we don't use I don't have the chlorine chemicals that of a normal pool does. It's a salt water with a generator system that makes its own chlorine. So I really don't have the normal chemicals that go along with a regular freshwater pool.
That's cool.
I just have one other, I don't know if it's a question or suggestion. I noticed that Kyle had mentioned something about staging and stockpiling have to remain outside the 50-foot buffer zone as a special condition. I mean, in addition to that, since Series A has not really been clearly identified, would it be possible also to say that that material staging and stockpiling also it should be outside of the 50-foot buffer zone for that area as well, since it hasn't been clearly identified?
Yeah, I mean, Bill
we can
would
certainly do that, Madam Chair, in the language in the special conditions here. But like, I'm kind of thinking that the 50-foot buffer zone, as marked on the plan now that we look at it here, is kind of this line here. So if they can stage material, I think like kind of right in this region, and that's going to be outside the 50 for the Series A as well. So I think if they kind of keep their staging to kind of this portion of the yard, I think they're going to be fine. But we can incorporate that language in the special conditions as well.
And how would you actually get like equipment in? And you said the concrete would be via hose. Would that go through I see a wood line there. And then that other wetland.
Yeah, if I can speak to that,
Yes, please.
I think what they normally do with the concrete trucks, they have a pumper. So they have extra hose lengths that they can pretty much park out on the street and then run it, have it run the hose down along the pool type of a thing. And I think that's probably the most realistic entrance that they'd be using.
Show me
It's
a map where that might be, how that,
Yeah, if you're able to see the map still, so like I think they would come up kind of on the southern property line and
Correct.
run the concrete line
Yeah.
this way.
and that's
And
this,
the yard is all open now. It's all grassed area that you see here. You can see the wood at the edge of the wood symbols, more towards the back. So as
Right.
far as as we mentioned earlier, as far as the area where the shed's going is really, again, very flat with a gentle slope to the back. There's not a lot of material coming out of there. So we've got plenty of room just outside of that 50, right near the pool, and it's coming out and some will be backfilled around, once the footing is in there. But it's really not a lot of material, just for your assurance that we have plenty of area to store it, right outside the 50.
commissioners, Agent Holden.
I don't believe I have any more comments. I think we've addressed everything for me.
I mean, this is a new NOI, so I believe we have to see if there are any abutters. The abutters were notified. Are there any abutters present that wanted to talk to this particular applicant?
I do not see anyone in the attendees with their hand raised.
Commissioner Clay, Commissioner Mapp? Questions?
No questions for me. I think he pretty much laid out what the plan is, and I guess his alternative was maybe put the motorized material devices in another shed and probably put the tools in the one he's trying to put together. So the fact that he has kind of like a game plan to, satisfy the issues and concerns that we have, I think it sounds good.
Mr. Holden, would you be amenable to changing the gutters and splash blocks to gravel drainage? Whatever.
Yeah, then that's fine. Either one. So the gravel drainage is just fine. So I'll include the gravel, around the perimeter as the erosion kind of break instead of the gutters and downspouts in the special conditions.
Commissioners, how do you feel? Do you feel that you would want to see a complete list of all the conditions and special conditions before we close this, or we could continue until next month and then close then?
I can read off I've been taking notes. I can read off what we've spoken about tonight as far as special conditions. So what we have so far. So first off, I'm going to reference the jurisdictional status of the Series A wetland. Yes.
And when Commissioner Beekler, you were nodding your head yes. I'm not sure what that was for. Sorry.
Just for Kyle to read off what they are, I think this should be wrapped up.
So thank you.
Okay, so we will review the jurisdictional status of the Series A wetland. We're going to make sure that no material is staged or stockpiled within the 50-foot buffer zone of either the Series A or the Series B wetland. There's going to be a stone perimeter around the shed to break any water flow off from the roof. And then two that we talked about, and so I'd like some input from the commission. Is no storage of herbicides or pesticides in the shed. Is that something that we want to include in the special conditions?
Yes.
Okay. And then we also spoke about no motorized vehicles being stored in the shed.
Yes.
Okay, I will do that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
Okay. Then I entertain a motion, I believe, if everyone is agreement to close the hearing.
I make a motion to close the hearing
On 10 Churchill.
on 10 Churchill Avenue Extension.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to close the hearing for a notice of intent for 10 Churchill Avenue Extension. Roll call vote, please.
Equal eye.
Clay, I.
Curtis, I.
Green eye.
Matt, I.
And Boris, I. So it has been closed. So I next entertain a motion then to issue an order of conditions with standard conditions as well as the special conditions that have been listed by Agent Holden.
I make a motion to issue an order of conditions with the standard conditions in addition to the conditions outlined by Kyle. For
Second.
10
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded to issue an order of conditions for 10 Churchill Avenue Extension. Roll call vote, please.
Equal eye.
Clay, I.
Curtis, I.
Green eye.
Matt, I.
Boris, I. Okay. Thank you.
No, thank you to the commission, and especially I'd like to thank Kyle for his expert help in this matter. So he was very helpful, and that's nice to see.
Yes, thank you, Bill.
But thank you very much.
Keep the gravel away from 25 foot.
Oh, we'll get it. We'll keep it out. Believe me. Thank you. Appreciate it. Have a nice night.
Bye, Mr. Martin. Have a nice holiday.
Thank you, you too.
The next item on the agenda is a request for an extension for for Whitman, a 20-inch sewer force main replacement. Is a representative here for Whitman?
Yes, I promoted Andrew, Mr. Grota, as the panelist. So he's here to kind of review this kind of public utility that's been already approved. So this is an extension request. And so Andrew, I'll let you take it away.
Thanks, Kyle. So my name is Andrew Grota. I'm a project manager with Environmental Partners Group in Quincy. We're working on behalf of the town of Whitman, the DPW specifically. So as many of you may know, if not, we've been working the past 5-ish years on this force main replacement project. The town of Whitman owns and operates a 16-inch or a 20-inch ductile iron force main. It runs for about 16,000 linear feet from the town of Whitman into the city of Brockton. It conveys, I'd say 95 to 99% of the flow from Whitman into Brockton. Several years ago, in 2016, 2017, the force main ruptured and subsequently was repaired, which prompted us to get involved with this job and ultimately move forward with the replacement of the force main. We ended up getting a order of conditions from the commission back in, I think it was December of 2020, for the replacement force main, which was a combination of PVC and HDPE pipe. The project was then bid and awarded to C. Naughton Corp. In late 21, and the construction of the job began in, I'd say, probably the springtime of 2022. So since the spring of 22 to now, we've had C. Naughton Corp. Working on the force main replacement project. Specifically, the work within the easement, I believe, started sometime around, I'd say, May or June of 2022. At that point, we started providing the biannual reports required by the special conditions, which, Kyle, I know your predecessor, we had spoken with her, pretty extensively, letting her know kind of where things stood as far as the project goes. And at present state, the force main work is complete. The town of Whitman has taken beneficial use of the force main, and currently the contractor is working on punch list and any remaining cleanup and restoration activities. So I know we're up against the 3-year order of conditions. The duration of the original conditions. So just looking to get an extension, one, to complete any remaining punch list site restoration work, two, to confirm that the wetlands are fully restored and we'll see that growth come back in the springtime. And then three, just to be able to provide additional time to finish our biannual monitoring and continue to provide reports to the commission. Thank you.
Kyle, do you have anything to add?
No, the only, so yes, I guess, this extension request is for 3 years. So, and that's what I'm recommending as well. But beyond that, no other comments. I think Andrew did a great job summarizing.
Thank you.
And there were some, the photos were very clear that are in the file. Thank you. Commissioners, any questions at all? Lily? No? Peggy? Laura?
I have none.
Sharifa?
I don't have any.
Okay. Then I would entertain a motion then to extend the order of conditions for 3 years for the Whitman 20-inch sewer force main replacement project.
Peggy, I think you're muted.
Thank you.
Good, you didn't hear me stumbling through that. I make a motion to grant the request for extension for 3 years for the Whitman 20-inch sewer force main replacement.
Second.
The motion's been made and seconded to request the 3-year extension for the order of conditions. Roll call vote, please.
Equal eye.
Clay, I.
Curtis, I.
Green eye.
Knapp, I.
Boris, aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Grota.
Thank you very much for your time.
Lovely holiday.
You too.
Bye-bye. Okay, so number 4 and 5 on the agenda, number 6 on the agenda have been continued. Let me see. Number 7 on the agenda was 339 Quincy Street, a resource. Anrad is representative from Holmgren here. Hello, Mr. Faria.
Good evening, Madam Chair. How are you tonight?
Hi, thank you.
Good. Thank you. Good evening, Commission members. Scott Farrier from Holmgren Engineering. And I'm before you tonight for an ANRAD filing that we had for CLM development on a piece of vacant land on Quincy Street. And we were before you folks back, I would guess sometime at your September meeting, I believe, and introduced the project. Since then, we've had a review of our wetlands line by Beta, received some comments from them sometime in the middle of September. And subsequent to that, we scheduled a site visit with Beta and our project botanist, Ken Thompson. And we had that meeting between the botanists on October 31st, made some adjustments to the BVW, submitted revised plans with some other additions that Beta was looking for. And I think at this point, Madam Chair, we agree on a wetlands line and are hoping to get your approval on that line.
I believe there was at one point something about needing a revised plan to actually have a copy. Do you have a copy of that plan available to us?
I believe their final comment was they would just, they were suggesting that a plan be prepared that eliminated the old flags as opposed to leaving them on in addition to the new flags. So we assumed that was going to be made a condition, so we didn't submit that plan at this point, Madam Chair. It's basically 4 flags. We showed the old flag locations and the new ones, just figuring it would be easier on the reviewers just to see that we did in fact move the line. So they just want us to get rid of the old one. So we'll certainly make that change.
Okay. Thank you. Agent Holden?
I don't really have any comments. Elise?
Yeah, Scott did a great job kind of summarizing everything that went down. There was a site visit with Scott and not with Scott, with the applicant representative delineator, and a line was agreed upon, all the adjustments were made. So as Scott said, really the only kind of thing that was suggested is that, there is sufficient information at this point to issue an order of condition, or not order of conditions, an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation, ORAD. And essentially, we did recommend that the older flags be removed, understood why they were put in there initially, but so that be removed. And then we just deferred to the commission on the adequacy of what was shown for existing conditions. I understand, the site is forested. So ultimately Beta was comfortable with what was provided pending that one plan, revision.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Holden, Agent Holden, do you have a copy of the actual map, the actual plan there, just so we can see?
Yeah, let me look for that. I'll do that in a moment. So I'll pull this map up in a second, but I've got if Elise, if you wouldn't mind, I know there was public comment on this ANRAD, specifically looking at some other things that weren't the wetland line. And so we've talked to, the DEP had comments when they issued the file number for this. And then through the back and forth between the engineering firm and Beta, there was some discussion of what resources were going to actually be mapped on this plan. Could you kind of briefly review that while I pull the map up, please?
That's
yeah.
I think the public might like to see that as well. Thank you.
Yeah. So essentially, as far as what's shown on the plan, so the ANRAD only requested the BVW boundary be approved. So, as far as the way we've handled that in the review was essentially saying under this ORAD that would be issued, the only approved items are the BVW flags. And then there was some recognition also kind of through the Mass DEP comment that should in the future an NOI come before the commission or some form of development, that's where it might be asked that additional resource areas be shown. However, the way we've kind of handled it to facilitate the issuance of the BVW boundary approval is just noting in the ANRAD that other resource areas, namely bank to interior streams, be kind of explicitly excluded, and saying, the ORAD approves this boundary, but noting that these other boundaries or resource areas that are present at the site have not been approved, and that if work would be happening within a buffer zone or jurisdictional area associated with that resource area, that additional approval down the road would be required. Which is, I believe, that was something that in our kind of going through our review comments with Holmgren and the applicant, that was something that was agreed upon, that the primary goal of this was the BVW boundary.
So it looks
Thank
like
you.
swath wetlands on the east side of the property. Then kind of toward the west side of the property, there's another swath of wetlands with two buffer zones. But that stream that you're talking about, that's not on the map at all.
It's interior to the wetlands, and Scott could also speak further to it, but it's interior to the BVW. So
the BVW is the most restrictive resource area on the property. So that's really, for this part of the project, that's what we're most concerned with, the most restrictive thing on the site, which is the BVW, then the 25, the 50, and the 100 associated with it. So within that BVW, there is an intermittent stream and a bank that goes with it, but it's well within the BVW. So at this point, it's kind of irrelevant to where we are in the planning stage.
It's within those wetlands that are already marked
Yeah,
up.
well within the wetlands.
Yep.
Oh, okay, that's clear. Thank you. I thought there was something else that wasn't. Yeah, okay, that's very clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then this is the map that has the old and the new flags. So, if you can see my cursor, there's a set of flags here. This is what Elise was talking about removing the older original flag and including the new flag on the final plan that Mr. Ferry is going to be providing us before we issue the ORAD. I think there are 4 of these kind of flags scattered around here that were moved after the review.
That's correct. There was 4 flags moved.
Commissioners, questions?
I don't have any.
I have none.
On the proposed plan, is there a plan for road extension? I see Debbie Road.
Yeah, Debbie Road's an existing subdivision road. There's access points out to Quincy Street. To be honest with you, yes, there is hopes to subdivide the property, but right now we're just looking to get the wetlands approved so we can proceed with the other city boards, knowing that we'll have to come back before you with anything that falls within your buffer zone.
Okay, I don't have any other questions.
The size of this parcel?
I believe it is 14 acres, Madam Chair.
Okay. Okay, thank you. That's helpful. Ms. Green, Ms. Mapp? Speaking of Mapp.
I do not have any questions.
Okay. Kyle, are you responsible for having the map up?
Yeah, I can close out if you're ready. I thought we might see if there's any public comment with the map up before I close that.
It's fine. I was just going to see if there were any participants or anything, and it just any attendees that need to speak to this. Any attendees that would like to speak to this particular ANRAD? And I couldn't see the names well.
Yeah, I think Barbara Lindsay is in the butter who submitted a public comment letter, which is in the file. I don't see her hand raised, but I'm going to go ahead and promote her to panelist.
Her hands up now. Miss Lindsay?
Hey, can you hear me now?
Certainly. Hi.
Hi. I don't know if my video's on or off.
I only see your name and hear your voice.
Yep. Yeah, at this point, you're just delineating the wetlands. We abut the project. We're over on the east side. We have a pipe that goes through under our property, under my backyard, down my driveway that takes the runoff water from the 14 acres. So that's always a concern for us.
And it goes under the driveway into where? Into the
there's a sewer right at the end of my driveway. So it's a 12-inch sewer pipe, and the 14 acres is kind of elevated a little bit above us. So, rainy days, the water comes this way, comes through my backyard. We open the gate, the water runs down the driveway. The 12-inch pipe just can't handle it.
Wow.
So that's mainly, that's always been my concern here. So, but, this property is owned by a private party, so, I just wanted to know what was going on to protect my own property. And that's about all I have to say, I think.
Okay. Kyle, any?
I think my letter is self-explanatory. I think I wrote that back over in August, maybe a month after we got notice. So I'll probably have to join in at a later point as this progresses down the road.
Right. As plans are, yeah.
Right.
Right.
Because we don't know what the plans are other than they're either gonna sell it or they're gonna subdivide and build.
Right, right.
So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having input. Appreciate
All
it.
right, good night.
Thank you. Do we close any in-rad hearing? We do close, right?
Yeah, this is a public hearing, so we'll need to close before we vote. Yes.
So commissioners, anything else you'd like to add, or otherwise I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing for the NRAD for 339 Quincy.
I make a motion to close the hearing for 339 Quincy Street.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to close the hearing. Roll call vote, please.
Equal eye.
Clay, I.
Curtis, I.
I believe this was open before I came, so I will abstain.
Fine.
Map I.
And Voris, aye. So we do have quorum, so that motion passes. So the next motion I would entertain would be to issue an order of resource delineation for this piece of property at 339 Quincy.
I make a motion for an order of resource delineation on 339 Quincy Street.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to issue an order of resource area delineation. Roll call vote, please.
Equal eye.
Clay, I.
Curtis, I.
I will
Map I.
abstain.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Map I.
And Voris, aye. Thank you. Mr. Faria.
Okay, thank you, folks. Good evening. Happy holidays. See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next two items on the agenda, I believe, are both continued until January 17th. Number 10 is the RDA, I believe, that we heard last month for tree removal at 51 Parkview Lane. Is Ms. Duarte here?
Yeah, she's in the attendees. I've promoted her to panelist.
Thank you.
Just to quickly summarize the way that we left off with this, there were three trees that they were hoping to remove with this RDA filing. I kind of recommended that 2 of the 3 be removed, and we kind of left it up to the applicant to follow up with an arborist to check out the overall health of the third tree, along with to assess the danger of it falling and causing damage to the property.
Hello, Ms. Duarte. You're muted. We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
We can, yes, thank you.
Okay. I don't know if you had heard me. I just kind of started by apologizing in advance because this is bedtime in our house. So anyway, I apologize if there's any interruptions, but I'm going to try to make this quick for you guys. I did have an arborist come out to the home and just look at the 3 trees. And in summary, he basically, he had the same recommendations as Mr. Holden. He did look at the white oak, which was the one that was really in question, and did say that it just does appear to be a healthy tree, and he's not really particularly concerned about it falling. And he agreed that the other 2 that Mr. Holden had also said that, should likely be taken down, that he agreed with that. So he didn't write anything up because it was the same recommendation, and it would have probably been an unnecessary cost, but so yeah, that's kind of where we're at. So really at this point, I'm just kind of asking if we can remove those 2 trees that that Mr. Holden had recommended.
Mr. Holden?
Yeah, that's fine with me. As Lauren mentioned, I've not received anything, so this is the first that I've heard about this as well. So
Guys, I just got your email about half an hour.
and that's fine. I think as long as we're not we're kind of in agreement. It sounds like that third tree, which I think is the white pine, doesn't need to be removed. If the commission's comfortable with approving the
The white pine was the one that was probably the most recommended.
Yeah, sorry. Let me correct that. So I pulled up the agent report from last month. So the white pine and the hickory we had recommended to be removed, but it was the white oak that I guess now the arborist and I agree that likely does not pose a threat and is in pretty good health. So we're not recommending that the white oak be removed, but we could approve the removal of the white pine and the hickory tree.
Commissioners, any questions, comments?
Oh, I'm sorry. For me, no, I'm good. Thank you.
Anything? Any questions?
No, sounds like everything was followed through on. So I think we should go with the two that the arborist and what Kyle recommended. I think we'll be in a good space.
So we would entertain a motion then to issue RDA. Is that correct?
Yeah.
For 51 Parkview Lane to allow for the tree removal of those two stated trees, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Commissioners?
Are you looking for someone to make a motion?
Yes, please.
Okay, I lost internet for a few minutes, a few seconds. I make a motion to have the two trees removed and the white oak remain at 51 Parkview Lane.
Okay.
Second.
So the commission has approved the removal of the white pine and hickory trees from 51 Parkview Lane, but not the removal of the white oak.
Correct.
So that motion has been made and seconded. Could I have a roll call vote, please?
Beekler, aye.
Clay, aye.
Curtis, aye.
Green, aye.
Map, aye.
And Voris, aye. And thank you so much, Mr. Wart, for entertaining so nicely the request of the commission.
Oh yeah, I appreciate your time. Thank you. Sorry, I swear he was quiet for the past hour.
Grandkids, it's quite all right. It goes by too fast.
Yeah. So I just do have a quick question about what do I do now? Do I have to get something in writing, or is it just left as is and I can have them removed? Do I need to do anything?
So yeah, I will issue kind of a document to you in the next week or so, basically saying everything we said here, that we're allowing the removal of the white pine and the hickory tree, and then after you receive that, then you're free to move forward with the removal.
Okay.
Good. Well, thank you. Have a lovely holiday.
All right. Thank you. You too.
The next item on the agenda is an RDA for 1 Massasoit Boulevard, removal and replacement of the fuel tank system. Niche Engineering is.
Yeah, this originally came before the commission, I believe last month, and in the meantime, since our last meeting, Chair Voris and Commissioner Green and I went out to the site with Bill Maher to kind of review the site there, and then I've also reached out to Mass DEP about just. There was some concern about the stormwater drainage system underneath this parking lot that this fuel system is going to be placed in. And a majority of the work proposed on this project is admittedly outside of the 100-foot buffer zone for the wetland that's adjacent to the parking lot. So I was concerned about the stormwater kind of funneling into the catch basins, and then because there's a direct outlet from the catch basins that are under the parking lot into the resource area that is jurisdictional. So I reached out to Mass DEP to kind of thread that needle, figure out like what we should actually be looking for as the commission's perspective. Mass DEP kind of came back with some comments, and basically the recommendation from them was that because the inlets, like the catch basins themselves, are outside of the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission, but the outlet that all of these catch basins feed into is within jurisdiction, that we should ensure that the parking lot basically itself it conforms to the stormwater standards of the state and local ordinance. And so that's basically what I put in the agent report. And I know Bill's here to speak, so I'm sure he has some comments. So I guess through the chair, we'll allow Bill to speak, please.
The chair would have gone first, but it doesn't matter, I'm sure, right, Mr. Mayor? How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Nice to see you.
Well, at this time, we would like to withdraw this RDA filing without prejudice.
May I ask why? I mean, if you withdraw the filing, you will not do the replacement?
Nope. We're just going to withdraw this, and that is what my client has indicated. At this time, and I will have further discussions with the client and the owner.
Okay, good. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Perhaps considering all of the craziness with the climate, perhaps it would be a good time to go electric. And not have replacement.
Yes, but obviously there are state vehicles, that are here at the site, and the state's going to pay for them, in some way or another, and then obviously install the charging stations, the conduit for them, and so forth. So it's I believe that was looked at, and just at this time it wasn't financially feasible, given the money that Massasoit was allotted to at least replace their fuel tanks.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay. Kyle, do you have any comments or?
No. Thank you for your time, Bill. I've enjoyed working with you.
Okay, well, thank you. And I wish everybody a happy holiday season.
Okay.
Thanks you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Sorry, I've never seen that happen before, so I will withdraw. Just write that down. Thank you. Well, let's see. 137 Perkins Ave has been continued, correct?
That is correct.
And then we have number 13, which is a utility hearing.
This is just a utility notice that was submitted. So I've added it to the file. This is kind of just more or less just informational for the commission. Public utilities are generally exempt from requiring them to submit for a notice of intent to do public utility work, assuming they adhere to certain performance standards. So that burden is on the applicant to prove to us that they are following all of those performance standards. And so that's what this letter is. We can kind of briefly review this. I didn't write an agent report up for this. I think that this is fine. I don't think that we need to require them to file an RDA or a notice of intent for this project. If you don't mind, I can share my screen and we can kind of just very briefly talk about the project so you are all aware of what they're planning on doing and what kind of mitigation measures they're planning on incorporating into this project.
From Eversource here.
That's correct. All right, so I'm going to start with the map. Basically, they're doing a gas main replacement, I believe. Let me just check that. Yeah, natural gas pipe replacement on Malvern Road. And so this is the map that they provided for us in their letter. The yellow is where they will be putting in this new gas pipe. The area of concern for us is in the top right corner of the screen here. There is the resource area in question is floodplain. So this is just floodplain. There are no wetlands here. So there's I'm not sure what brook this is here, but the resource area is the floodplain. They are working within floodplain, kind of in this corner, and just at the very tip of the road here. They have erosion controls down that will be in place. They're only doing certain stretches of. They're only digging and breaking up stretches of the road that they can complete in a given day. The plan is to dig, replace pipe, and then refill everything the same day that they do the work. So there's not going to be any fill or open holes throughout through evenings. When there's any rain or anything forecasted like that, they will not be working in the regions that are near the floodplain or near a resource area. And they review all of this, these best management practices in their letter here. So it's all kind of spelled out here, but I don't see any reason that we need to have them file. I think that they're kind of following everything that they need to be following here to kind of protect that area. So this is obviously, and just, we have some new commissioners here. We are able to require or request that they kind of do file maybe an RDA with us and kind of go through a more stringent kind of approval process before we say, okay, this is not jurisdictional or it is exempt. But I don't think that is necessary in this case.
Commissioners, any comments? This is informational, so there's no vote.
No questions for me.
No.
Yeah, I agree. Information seems fine with this project.
Okay. Fine.
Okay, great.
And then the very last thing on the agenda is, what was it? It was not an enforcement order, almost an enforcement order. I lost it. Wait a minute. Allen Street, 26 Allen Street.
Yeah, that is correct. So this first came to the attention of the board in April of 2023. There was basically just a lot that had a bunch of trash that had been dumped in an area that was adjacent to Salisbury Brook as it goes through the downtown Brockton. We issued a notice of violation requesting that they clean the site up. They didn't do it right away in the springtime, and after that, the Japanese knotweed that's on site there just grew to the point where you really couldn't even navigate through the site or see the trash that was there. So we decided in the summer that we would kind of grant them an extension until the December meeting to get the site cleaned up. And if they hadn't done it by tonight's meeting, then we would issue an enforcement order. I've been in contact with the property owner's daughter, who's kind of the representative for all of this. She provided me today with an invoice that she has received from a company that does kind of trash removal work. The plan is she just started on this last week, so that hence the coming down to the wire. She sent me an email today that they plan on starting the work this afternoon. Maybe into the evening after it was dark, so they don't have any photos for us. I plan on driving by tomorrow to see how things go. My recommendation at this point is there's clear action being taken here. What we are asking of them, it's a fairly easy lift just to remove all of this trash. I would, I guess, suggest that the commission kind of just will reassess next month in January to see if this site has been satisfactorily cleaned, and if so, great, we can move on, and if not, then at that point I think we can issue the enforcement order.
Okay, yeah, especially since it looks as though they have an invoice in the file. So
yeah, I added that and the email that she sent following up talking about the timetable, but again, I've not been out there since they started doing the work. I plan to do that tomorrow, so we'll just kind of see how this progresses.
that sounds fine. Thank you very much.
All right, great. Thank you.
Bye. Agent Holden, thank you. Anything else? Ms. Tripp, it's lovely to see you. Hope you have
Nice to see you guys.
happy holiday.
Oh, likewise.
Okay. Kyle, will you stop the recording, or is it who?
Well, I think we should vote to close the meeting, and then I know that you wanted to speak with Road about some administrative things, so I will stop the recording, and then we can continue on with that.
I make a motion to close the meeting.
I'll second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. Roll call vote, please.
Claire.
Clay, aye.
Curtis, I.
Green eye.
Matt, aye.
And Voris, aye. Happy holidays.
All right, great. Thank you.